Hi there. Welcome to NavTalk, brought to you by the NavWealth Financial Group, helping you reach your destination in life on purpose. I'm your host, Simon Prowse, and each episode will bring you educational, inspirational and informative interviews on a broad range of topics. Welcome to NavTalk. Today I have the great pleasure of meeting Morgan Randall. Morgan has a company, and quite a unique company, called Monsters of Dance. And Morgan's story of this company is one that I found quite compelling. And my discussion today has been gatecrashed by Mr. Craig Banning, the CEO of NavWealth, who's come along because Craig's daughter has actually worked with Morgan over the years, and Craig's really familiar with her business. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi, thank you, Simon. And Morgan, I'm so excited you finally got in here for this Nav Talk. My daughter's, as Simon said, my daughter's worked for Morgan now for a couple of years, and I've had the pleasure over these years of my daughter calling me up and telling me all the wonderful things that you do at Monsters of Dance. And that's what prompted me to say to Simon, we need to get Morgan in here to do a Nav Talk with us, because it's not very often in my career I've seen someone as young as you achieve such success in building a wonderful business. So welcome today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
So Morgan, before we get into your business, why don't you give a little bit of a story of you and really how you got into dance in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started dancing when I was 9, which felt late at the time. I was comparing myself to the kids that started when they were 3, but I didn't really need to do that because I made up for it. I really was looking for a class that wasn't ballet, and then my mum finally found a hip hop class for me. And then from there I fell in love with other dance styles as well.
So you start at the age of 9, and hip hop is the area you landed in.
Yeah.
For those uneducated, what is hip hop?
So I was watching TV and I wanted to do what the dancers were doing behind the singers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was trying all these different dance classes that were just a little bit boring. Sorry to those dance schools. But yeah, I finally found something that I really loved at a dance school that I really loved. So that was great.
Okay, and as a dancer at 9, what sort of time are you spending learning the trade and doing the dancing, so to speak?
So I started with 1 class and then very quickly picked up to 4 classes, which I thought was so many at the time. But that was like 3 hours a week. And then from there, it slowly grew into being most days of the week. And then I had to give up the Saturday netball, which Mum wasn't too happy about, but she got over it. And then, it was becoming most of my life as a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's really everything you're doing outside of school becomes the dance.
Yeah.
And what's that journey look like? Where do you take the dance as you're going through the school ages and high school?
Yeah. So when you are a committed, passionate dancer as a teenager, there's a few things that you can look at doing. Most kids do a full-time dance course after they've completed their HSC, and that's what I did. And from there, you can sort of look at different career paths, but I knew for quite a long time that I wanted to be a dance teacher and a studio owner. So I quite quickly settled into a dance teacher role at about the age of 18, 19.
Wow, so you're really young.
Yeah.
And post-school, what is it that you do to qualify? Do you attend a university? Or?
Yeah, no, not to be a dance teacher that's not related to anything to do with school. There's no degree attached to that. Most people do get their certificate in performing arts, doing a full-time dance course.
And does that include the boring dancing, or is it still all hip-hop at this time?
I think that I realised that no dance style has to be boring. It's just how it's taught, I believe. And that's what I tell my students these days. Yeah.
Okay, so we've finished school, we've got the certificate and you've decided you're going to become a dance teacher. Tell us a little bit about how that morphs into starting up the business and where you are sort of along that journey?
Totally. So I was obviously still quite young. So starting a business, I knew I didn't want to do that immediately, but I sort of expressed to the women that I knew that did have studios that I was really interested in teaching and that I was aspiring to one day do what they were currently doing. I felt like having that transparency made things really smooth and easy in the future. So yeah, I taught dance at a few dance schools, and I helped out a lot behind the scenes at a particular dance school, Narrabeen Dance, with Miss Jasmine, who now works for me, which is a funny, 360. Yes, love her. She's the best. And then, in 2017, so that was about 6 years after full-time dance, I took the leap and found a community centre that wasn't too far from me, and opened Monsters of Dance, which was scary.
Okay, there's a lot to cover in that. So you've taken the leap. So firstly, we're about 25 years old. Is that
yes,
about
25.
Right? Great. And you've found a community centre.
Yeah.
And what do? You can't just go in and open the doors. How do you then take that on?
No, that's right. So I started marketing on social media as soon as I knew that I had found the place. And I'd 6 months previous to that let my current employers, or I was a contractor at that point, but the studio owners know that that's what I wanted to do. And I started getting the word out there as best as I could. I had been teaching at primary schools as well as dance studios, so I was beginning to, and a high school too, so I was beginning to get a bit of a name out there that was my own and not attached to any other studios. I tried to use that as best I could, and we opened the doors.
So it's fair to say you had a bit of goodwill.
Yes.
And you as a contractor with the schools, they knew you as a person.
Yeah.
And how do you sort of raise the financial... Well, you're 25. You're trying to sign a lease for a community hall. I'm assuming you're going in on a lease.
So it actually, and this was fantastic as a starting point for a young person, I hired the hall at an hourly rate.
Okay. So it
it
wasn't fixed. So you could have been turfed at any point.
Yes, and I was turfed, which we can get to in a second. So it was quite manageable when it comes to costs. I went to the bank to try get a loan to get a lease, and I thought it was going to be very easy, and it wasn't, bless my cotton socks. But they did give me a business credit card, and the limit was $7,000, and I bought a speaker, like a music speaker, and a few, my website, I spent money on that, and a few other things, I think, but I had that paid off really quickly and done with, and then everything else was really manageable cost-wise at the community hall.
And who helps you with this process? I mean, you've said earlier you've got a company. I'm assuming at some point someone was giving you some advice on how you get things going?
Yeah, so obviously I started as a sole trader.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a company straight away. And my mum and dad helped me. My mum came to the bank with me from memory, and my dad had his own business, like plastics and displays company. So he knew a bit about helping me get started as well.
So mum and dad, the advice of mum and dad gets you going, and you start as a sole trader.
Yeah.
And then you've got the things like keeping accounts and doing bits and pieces like that. Was that all around mum and dad helping you as well?
Yes, I started with NYOB. And Dad was a big MYOB man, so he helped me with that. My partner's wife, my partner's mum also loved NYOB, so she helped me with that. I'm with zero now, guys. Don't you worry. But they helped me understand all of those things, and tax, and when I had to register for GST, it was a whole new world to me, obviously, as a dance teacher running a business. Yeah,
I mean, can I just say something, Simon? What I've just heard so fascinates me, because just about every successful business I ever meet, they've got one thing in common, and that they start the right way. You know, you started by managing your costs, not spending too much money, by seeking out and getting advice on things that you needed to, because you're a dance teacher and not a business owner at that point.
Yep.
And I just think that's really good for people to hear, because so many people go to start a brand new business and go too big too fast and blow up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars without even knowing whether their business is going to work.
Yep.
And you didn't do that, which is really clever.
And I think there was a reality in which that I would have done that and could have done that if someone had given me the opportunity. So I'm really, really thankful that they didn't. And if anyone's talking to me about starting a business, I do advise them to do it within their means. Yeah.
So talk to us about that. You're a sole trader, and you start to grow your wings. In other words, you've got students, and I'm assuming more and more start to sort of get interested. Talk us a little bit about that journey as you grow.
Yeah. So we had 40 students by the end of the year, at the end of year concept.
So first 12 months?
Yeah.
40 kids?
6 months.
First 6 months. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had a great concert, and it wasn't too long after that, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I got turfed, that the community centre or the council let me know that they were shutting down Beacon Hill Community Centre on the Northern Beaches to do renovations. So at that point, I had a bit of money behind me, but it was a little earlier than I would have wanted to have to go searching for other property, and there wasn't any other community centres in the area. So that was when I started to look for a property to lease myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you find that property how, and then
realcommercial.com. And I forget his name now, but a nice real estate agent did a bit of digging and found something that wasn't perfect, because nothing ever is, but it was suitable. And in retrospect, now that I look back, it is perfect for us. It was about 250 square metres, and we could fit 2 dance studios in there. So we currently been operating 1 studio at a time. So this would leave me enough room to start to grow, and hopefully, I was hoping, and we did succeed, to run both studios at the same time each day.
And when you say a studio, that's a class.
Yes, that's a room. That's a dance room. Yeah. So often I refer to my dance studio, and when I say studios, I guess I mean how many rooms are in there. Yeah. How many classes? Yeah.
Okay, and what sort of lease do you sign? A couple of years, or how does that work?
We've extended it now, but I think it was a 5-year lease. But my landlord, bless him, he's always got a 1-year demo clause in there, so he can give me 1 year's notice at any time. But whatever he's waiting for approval on is not getting approved, and I'm staying, so that's good. Yeah, it was a shortish lease.
I don't know if that's shortage. You're 26, and you're signing a 5-year lease.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's
I think it's very brave. I mean, there's a lot of people perhaps listening to this that have never signed a commercial lease. It's extremely different to a residential lease. I mean, you can get out of a residential lease extremely easily these days, but commercial leases can be phenomenally expensive to get out of.
There was no doubt. I would have signed 10, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so there is an element of risk appetite for you. You're brave.
Yes. Yeah. I was recently talking about risk profiles, and with the business coach that I work with, and he was like, you got to decide what your risk profile is, what you're willing to risk, what the worst thing that could happen is, and go from there. But
take that big leap.
Yes.
Well done. and at what point do you say, oh, golly gosh, I can't be a sole trader anymore. I need to put a bit of a boundary around my life and become a company?
Yeah, well, that was just quite simply the tax rate was better as a company, and my accountant told me that. So once your business starts making a certain amount of money, the tax rate goes really high. I'm not an accountant, so you guys can correct me on this. And it was just more beneficial to be being taxed as a company.
Yeah, that's
And then I
interesting.
became an employee of that company.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the complexity comes with that, right? You've
Yeah.
already said, one, you become an employee.
Yes.
And two, we've got a whole new beast to deal with in a company.
Yeah.
And we've got accounts that are separate from us. And,
Yes.
and you're going to be signing leases in a company name.
Yeah.
And you're now a director, and there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there is a lot to it, and I still am trying to really fully understand it, if I'm honest.
Well, at times we've got to leave the advice to the advisors.
The professionals, that's right,
You
the
know.
experts in that.
Yeah, and you stick with your knitting, as they say, and,
Yeah.
and the dance. And I've got to ask one question in that. You were 9 and you found a passion for dance. You then take it through life and you become a teacher. And at one point or another, I assume you go, oh, God, I need to get out of bed and teach another child how to dance. How have you maintained that passion?
Just like everyone does, having a shift of work ahead of you or a work day ahead of you can at times, and especially when I was like 20, I would have those feelings of, oh, I'd really prefer not to go to work today, but I really love teaching dance, and I love impacting kids in a way that's positive and lighting them up and giving them something to be really passionate about. And to be honest, I just think there's so much going on in my head that there's almost no time to sort of doubt it. I just have to get up and go.
You're on the train.
Yeah, I'm on the train.
Yeah.
But I definitely have hard moments where I need to pull myself up. And yeah, I feel a bit awful that I haven't mentioned my daughter yet. I had a baby a year ago, and she definitely causes me to stop and take time as well. So yeah, we can talk about her more later, but yeah.
So we've taken a lease, we've taken a 5-year lease, and we've had a couple of options on top.
Yeah.
And we're now coming to I call it the COVID time. The time when a lot of businesses in Australia were incredibly challenged.
Yes.
How do you cope with that being a face-to-face business, and what did you do?
Gosh, that was so wild. Like, I just remember the utter disbelief that I felt that my business could just stop. But yeah, it was tricky, and we just reached 220 students within those 2 rooms at the new premises when COVID hit. So that was such a nice achievement, and it made it hurt all the more that we were potentially going to have to close our doors. But I actually just reached out to other studio owners to sort of gain an idea of how we could do this. Yeah.
So a collaboration, if you like, as
Yeah.
you all got together and thought, how the hell can we keep ourselves alive?
Absolutely.
And feeding ourselves.
Yeah, and what Zoom was and how we could use it and the way to go about it, whether you run all your classes or some of your classes. But it was a blessing in disguise, as so many things are, a bit cliche, but that's how I actually found my business coaches, through this Facebook community group that started during COVID, and they have had such a huge impact on my journey. So that was a positive that came out of it. But yeah, so we went on Zoom, basically.
Which I remember that period, Morgan, when we had to go online as well in our business. Oh my God, I had some sleepless nights thinking, how's this going to work?
Yeah.
But as you're telling us that story, all I could think about is, it's one thing getting adults onto Zoom for meetings, which is what we had to do.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the extra challenge of young children getting them onto Zoom, paying attention and doing a class and not getting bored and just wandering off.
Absolutely, yeah. And it wasn't as simple as, oh, we're going on Zoom either. I spent days filming myself, doing like pre-recorded classes until I realised that wasn't going to be the way to go, because I hadn't quite found this group on Facebook yet. But they really inspired us to believe in it and believe that the kids would benefit from it, being inside their home and moving and seeing other people on their screen. And when you look at it that way, it really is something that many parents probably enjoyed when they're stuck with their kids all day inside. Yes. No offense to kids, I love them. But, you know, chuck on the computer and my kid gets to exercise, dance, laugh. We do laugh at monsters quite a lot. And that's what kept us going. I think the fact that we believed in it and we weren't just doing it to survive.
Wow.
It's an amazing story of adaptation caused by the environment. And you don't film yourself. You end up, I assume, being a teacher on the screen in front of the classroom of kids.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we did.
Wow.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't easy. And the feeling of being a dance teacher, you know, to kids on a screen when you can't hear them, you can't feel really their energy, and their focus is not as good as it is in a classroom. So it can be hard to push through a lesson. But yeah, we all sort of talked about that amongst each other, myself and my staff, to sort of inspire us to keep going. And we did fun things using like graphics on the screen, like they could they could click a button and a wheel would spin and it would choose the next person who did something, or a dance move. But yeah, we even had 3-year-olds that would come on every week. Yeah.
And are you offline now completely and back to face-to-face? I actually don't go there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. So we went through the 2 lockdowns. The first one, we condensed our timetable completely. In the second one, we actually continued to run 4 studios on Zoom. So we had 4 Zoom classrooms that ran every day.
Wow. Wow. So you're going to COVID, you've got 200 students, and I'm going to probably get this wrong. I think COVID was around for a couple of years.
Yes.
How many do you end up after COVID?
We dropped to 130. So some people didn't opt in to the online classes, which is obviously very understandable. And there was also financial things going on for everyone.
Yep.
And then from there, we've really jumped right up when we got back into the studio. I actually, in 2020, opened 2 more rooms underneath the 2 that we had. So the tenant below us moved out and we took over that. And that was like it was just an opportunity that presented itself and I just chose to take it. It wasn't necessarily something that we really needed at the time. But there was more classes that I wanted to offer to kids that I wasn't able to. So we did that. And then we got to like 400 and then the next lockdown came. And then we dropped again. But then come 2022, when it was all sort of said and done, we got up into the 500s.
Wowee.
Yeah.
You got 500 kids that you manage.
I now have 640. But in 2022, we got to 500.
That's a whole primary school.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
It takes a lot of work. Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the things I just want to say on that, Morgan, that I haven't said to you yet, the thing I noticed as a bystander through my daughter is the passion that you and all your teachers have for children. Because prior to my daughter working at Monsters, she loved kids like any young girl does, but she never stops talking about how wonderful it is teaching children.
Yeah.
And she would not have said that before she worked at Monsters. So you definitely have created an incredible passion with all your teachers for children.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Well, let's hone in on a bit on that. And what is it? How do you manage? I see here in the notes we've got about 11 staff members. How do you manage a team of 11? How are you doing it?
Yeah. It's one of my biggest... I guess you could say challenges, but I don't really look at it as a negative thing. It's just the thing I'm learning the most about right now in the position that I'm in, and trying to structure the tasks that we do each day in a way that it's clear to understand and there's no overlap and things don't get missed and all of those things. So it's something I'm learning about, but I think that I am really open-minded when it comes to expanding my knowledge and listening to others that have come before me. But yeah, we use monday.com. That helps me manage everyone. It's like a task management software.
So in that environment, I'm thinking back in the school days here, and your teacher had a curriculum, and they had to go from A to Z and take you through a process, right? And you had to teach this, and this because it's going to be an exam at the end of the year type thing.
Yeah.
Is that the way you sort of structure your team and how you manage them to manage classes?
Yes. So when it comes to dance teaching, I find that the most magic happens when you lean into a teacher's natural gift, because dance is so insanely versatile. I think too much control over what one individual dancer does, because dancing is a sport, but it's also an art form. So trying to have too much rigidity in that area, I think can actually come back to bite you. So what I always come back to with my teaching staff is our values. And if they're demonstrating our values in their classes while also making sure that they're planned lessons and that they're completing and teaching the right technical skills for that age group and getting the dance done in time for the concert where the kids know what they're doing, they look amazing, the song's appropriate. If all of those boxes are ticked for me, then I relinquish control in that way. But as long as they're demonstrating the Monsters' values, I am happy with them.
Yeah, there's two things I want to hone in on there, because you've opened a fantastic part in my mind around businesses and what businesses don't often do, and the word values.
Yeah.
And you said it, that Monsters has the values. What are those values?
So our slogan, if you will, is fierce dancers, happy humans. So it's always important to me to be providing high quality dance classes, dance training and choreography. I was such a committed dancer as a kid, and those were the classes that I loved, the classes that we got things done. We were proud of what we put on stage, and we excelled when we were dancing on stage, whether that be in the community or at a competition. So high quality dance classes, but the happy humans part for me is something that I knew I wanted to do from the very start, but what I realized quite quickly is you have to commit to that if you truly want that to be present in a dance studio. By that I mean happy humans. So we really strive to have a positive and supportive and safe environment where we're honest with the kids about where they're at and how hard they might need to work to achieve a certain goal, or maybe they're just coming for fun. But it needs to be, in my opinion, a safe space for the kids to be able to do the hard work and reach the goals that they want to reach without feeling any sort of, like, kids, they still get nervous, but I want them to feel comfortable and safe. And that has often not been the case for many dancers growing up. So I really wanted to make sure that was present at Monsters.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed, Morgan, because my daughter Laura gets so excited when you go off to these competitions.
Yes.
I always get a phone call when she's on her way home, and all she says is, "Dad, guess what? We won this prize, that prize, that prize, this prize." And I say to her every time, "Wow, Laura, that's extraordinary." So I think it is extraordinary how many awards you win at Monsters of Dance, because there's a lot of competition in dance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a challenge for me to ensure that we're continuously striving to maintain that reputation as being a great dance school without ever sacrificing the positive environment. Yeah. So that's what my staff and I always are striving to do. And back to Laura, your daughter, both her and myself and our studio manager, Lace, we nothing makes us happier than the small wins of an individual child on any given day. So there's winning competitions, but there's also 11-year-old, let's call her Maggie, who has been working so hard in her regular classes for so many years and really wants to be able to achieve new heights and to get into maybe a class that's harder to get into, and then she finally gets into it after working so hard for years on end. And that's something we celebrate. We also could talk for hours about a tiny monster that hadn't been going into their class. Tiny monsters are preschool dancers at my studio, who has finally gone into their class without their mum that day.
Wow.
And yeah, one particular boy recently, Laura, got quite emotional because his mum got quite emotional that he hadn't yet found an activity that he could do independently. And because we persisted with him, he got there after like nearly a whole term of pulling his mum in the room. And yeah, if we're not careful, we could just talk about it for hours and not get any of the other stuff done. But yeah, so it's about those wins at comps, but it's about those small wins for us too each day. And I think having that positive environment allows for more talent to flourish anyway, because you allow more people to enjoy themselves at your studio.
See, I think you've hit the nail on the head. That enjoyment creates a desire to do it,
Yes,
right? Rather
exactly.
than, and I think Craig, Laura's journey with her dance, and it was quite the opposite. It was a lawful journey.
Yeah, as Morgan said, as Morgan said, once people leave school, particularly, and start getting into full-time dance, it can be quite challenging because of the for my novice perspective, Morgan, is the excellence that is demanded in those courses that your teachers do. It's like being an athlete. They only accept the best. They want the best. So it's brutal. It's brutal. The training's brutal.
Yep, it can be for sure. And I think I definitely experienced some hard moments in full-time where I sort of felt quite singled out, and there was a moment where I was called a name that made me feel quite humiliated. And I think it's those moments that have made me so sure about that positive and supportive environment always being a part of what we do at Monsters.
And how do you manage that? Like, I get the challenges of being the elite athlete, but how do you manage the enjoyment and the fun?
It comes back to, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, do you mean incorporating joy and fun while also trying to achieve
you're trying to be really disciplined and but you're trying to get the kids to laugh and have fun. So have you got any unique things that you do? Or?
Well, I am not bad at slipping in a bit of humour here and there and some self-deprecation. Is that the word? I think I got that right.
You take the piss out of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, I bloody do. And the kids love it, and it makes them feel comfortable. And I feel like if I'm the biggest idiot in the room, then hopefully they feel safe to take risks and not get too embarrassed about it. Yeah, it is a challenge. It comes back to the values, and it comes back to positive, supportive environment. And if that's not ringing true, then we're not doing what we say we do. And I'm not about that.
And I hear that you've got extremes in your kids. You've got kids who are just doing it for fun, and others that are really serious.
Yeah.
How do you manage that dichotomy in your team, in your kids?
Absolutely. So we have separate streams and separate types of classes. So mostly you will find that you're in a room of kids who have similar aspirations and goals that you do. There are children in our tribe stream, which is our recreational stream. They don't do competitions, not because they're not amazing, but because they don't want to. Yeah. Right. There are kids in that stream that that sometimes cross over into our company stream, which is our more competitive stream. And there are kids that also go from company to tribe because they more into soccer that year and they still want to dance, but they don't want to commit all of that time to it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you've got streams, or let's call it gradings, if you like, and
Yeah.
then it's your streams, and you're calling them names, so they associate it with that stream, and those kids can sort of pick
Yeah.
how hard they want to go or
Yeah.
how
Yes.
hard they don't want to go.
Exactly. So
Right.
we start with the tiny monsters, which is our preschoolers, and then when you get to school age, you can decide which way you want to go. I find that it takes a kid until about when they're 7 or 8, and when they can sort of make a choice. But from there, it would get older and older. And sometimes we have kids jumping in when they're 12 and 13 as well.
So the diversity is part of the unique experience of monsters, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And that I didn't ever want to be a studio that you had to have already achieved a certain level to go to that studio. I wanted to be able to welcome people who were trying dance for the first time or hadn't danced that much before, so that we could then teach them, and if they gained the skills or gained a pattern for it, that they could then go into the more competitive stream. I didn't really want to close my doors to dancers that didn't have the experience.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
And that's how you keep your people interested, so it's
Yes.
really good. Tell us, you've opened the extra 2 studios, so you got 4 post-COVID, 640-ish kids. Where's the vision? Where are you going with this now? What's the next part of your journey?
This is such an interesting question to be coming at this time, because I have been planning all year to move to a bigger premises, which my clients don't know at this point.
Oh, the cat's out of the bag. Tell us the secret.
Well, it's not all great, but that's okay. Nearly all year we've been planning this new place, and recently we found out that it might not be happening.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, I know, a little bit of a sad story, but I feel like it's worth telling, because this new premises would have been like if at the very start of the journey a bank gave me a $50,000 loan and I opened and I did things outside of my means.
Yeah.
So this new place that looks to be falling through would have cost a lot of money that we didn't have, so it meant loans, and it would mean stress when it comes to paying the rent and things like that. So I sold it to myself, and maybe my ego sold it to me. And I really pictured myself walking around that building, feeling a sense of grandeur. But yeah, I've been confronted with the fact that it might not happen. And as I do, I sort of started asking around, sprung into action a little bit. And my landlord really didn't want us to leave. So he was happy that it might not be happening. And he's now looking at potentially some more space in the same complex where we already are. So very much within our means. It would mean no loan. It would mean more affordable rent and potentially, growth. So, but not at such a high cost for me and my family, really.
At a time when you've got a 1-year-old.
Yep. I know, right?
But again, I hear this, Morgan, and it's, again, for people that are either thinking of starting a business or have one, isn't it the way in business, how you have to keep adopting and changing all the time?
Absolutely.
And dealing with stress and challenges, because there's no business that doesn't have challenges. Even really old businesses have been going for hundreds of years failed because they haven't changed and adapted. And
yeah, it is. And the girls, when I was talking to them about it, they thought I was crazy, because the day after we found out that, and I was in tears on the floor almost, I was excited about the potential new option. I don't know, for some reason I almost enjoy the challenge of working out the new puzzle and how it could potentially be more positive than the other.
That's the new vision,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And from every sort of adversity comes triumph. And,
Yeah.
and maybe it was meant to happen this way.
Yes.
Maybe, your landlord now is working with you to
Yeah.
try and
Yeah.
keep you there and maintain your space. So,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
things will come.
It really does feel like what's meant to happen will happen. I don't always believe that, but this time it feels really right.
And,
Yeah.
and the dream and the vision around the size of the business and
Yeah.
the numbers of
Yeah.
kids you're going to manage.
Yes.
You got any thoughts on that for the business plan?
Yeah, it'll be 3 more rooms. So we currently have 4, and it would be 7 total rooms. So
Jesus.
we're somewhat overstaffed right now. So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch staff-wise. We've often got 2 teachers on 1 class and whatnot. So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch in that way, but having more space just allows me to create the best timetables that I can for the kids when it comes to their training and also their convenience and putting their classes together at the right times and offering more styles as well. But yeah, this year's been very much about defining the roles within our administration team to make the growth possible and so that we can hopefully manage it as best we can.
So you told us before about Monday.
.com, yeah.
Is there any other tech stacks you're dealing with in managing? You've got 640 kids, I've got it wrong here, and 11 teachers. Other than Monday, is there anything?
There is. So we've got like a dance studio software that's called Jackrabbit. That helps us manage our classes. So like what kids do what classes, and it also manages the way we do our direct debit payments. And then we also have a software. It's called Enrollio. It's built for dance studios as well. It's quite new. A man in America created it for his wife, and that helps us with managing our leads. So our new people that are interested in coming along, we manage a pipeline within Enrollio. We also run our website through Enrollio. And then we use Monday.com and then Slack for messaging amongst staff.
So it's quite a big tech stack, even for what we might deem to be quite a niche little business. It is.
Yeah, I definitely try to, as I said earlier, work within my means. But when it comes to output and spending money to make things easier, I am quite good at that. Spending money to make money. I don't hold on tight. I think it works in my favour. Other dance studio owners that I chat to and they're disappointed with their growth, often I find the biggest difference between them and I is that I'm willing to spend what I have
And reinvest.
And put it back handy. Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, the reinvestment is the
that's
key,
the word.
right?
Yeah.
The reinvestment in your business and continually adapting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a great talk in terms of learning about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give some of our audience a few takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of if someone was out there thinking, oh, I'm going to give this business a go, have you got any advice as a young entrepreneur? I'm going to call you that.
Yes. I was told to create a business plan from my father, and I didn't, but I now fully understand why he was telling me to do that, now that I understand business, obviously. So I would YouTube what a business plan is, because it's easy to learn anything off YouTube, and I would really try to create one, particularly with a focus on financial forecast and cash flow forecast so that you don't run out of money.
Jeez, I'll give you a job. That was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So you now have a business plan, is that fair to say?
Yeah, yep. It's not it's not all compiled into one pretty Canva document. Canva, love Canva, but it's definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah. And business plans, and I'm a big believer in a plan like you've sort of told us, don't have to be a phone book. I mean,
No.
they just can be a short, concise document.
Absolutely.
Just,
5 to 6 pages, like anything. Yeah.
and just identifying what you want to do, how you're going to do it, and let's get to the finances. There's a lot in there.
Absolutely, a lot in there. I'd also say you probably know your values without knowing you know your values at the start of your journey, like I did, but I just didn't have a lot of definition around them. And earlier on, I definitely strayed from them because I was distracted by what other businesses in my field were doing. And I would sort of take inspiration, but then stray from my values here and there. So if you can really try to think about what your why is and what your reasons for doing it is, like obviously it could be financial and to support your family and be flexible, things like that. But when it comes to what you're offering in your product, what are your values around that? And whenever you're taking inspiration from other businesses, be careful to not stray from what you believe in, not only just for your own sort of morals, I guess, but also because a product that is very clear on what it is and what it isn't, I think does a lot better.
And it's your why. It's not someone else's why, which you've sort of touched on, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got back to those values, and they're your values. I mean, and then you pick people that match your values and your why.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Is there one thing in your whole journey that you'd say has contributed most to your success, or is it a combination of things? Is there any one thing that we can take out of this whole process?
For growth, I would say if you get to a point where it's time to teach others so that they can help you, don't avoid it, and try your best to relinquish control where you can so that other people can learn from their mistakes and then help you run your business. Because I am now at a point where I trust my employees so much that I can easily step away, not for very, very long amounts of time because I love it and I don't want to, but if I need to step away for a week and spend time with my daughter and my husband, I've no doubt that the people that I have trained and that I work with every day will do a great job of running the business when I'm not there. So I think having the ability to relinquish control has really helped me a lot. And sometimes I see it holding other people back too.
Wow.
There's been so much in this last 5 minutes.
And for me, it's been such a pleasure, Morgan, to be here and to listen to you. You know, I've watched from afar now for a few years, as I've mentioned, and you are an absolute true entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. Not many people can say they're an entrepreneur. You know, you didn't buy the business, you built it from scratch. Its growth is extraordinary under any term. And you've gone from dancer to dance teacher to now an entrepreneur who is a wonderful leader in your business. And I know that because I see it through my daughter. I don't understand how you've become such a great leader at such a young age. I'm a lot older than you. It took me a lot more years than it took you. And I see the way that you're now mentoring your team and you're growing all your team or employees. But yet again, you still have, I can tell today, this unbelievable passion for children, and I guess your customer being their parents and the children themselves. So you've just got it all. I mean, I'm just in awe of you, and I congratulate you so much for what you've achieved.
Wow. Thanks, Craig. Wow, that's so nice.
I mean, and the amount of literature out there on your last few areas that you've touched on, your why, you know, your scale, your control, the values, letting go. I mean, you've said that all those things that we're taught in how to run a business, you've touched on. So, yeah, I'm pretty amazed as well. Morgan, in summing up, Monsters of Dance is a business that's going to be here for a while.
Yep.
Where do we find you? And how do all these mums out here plug their children into you? Give us a bit of a plug for yourself.
Yeah, so we're in French's Forest on the Northern Beaches. The website is monstersofdance.net, and on Instagram we're Monsters of Dance. And yeah, we love what we do. If you were to bring your child to our studio, you can be sure that they will be welcomed, no matter who they are or where they've been, and as will you as their parent. We work really hard to communicate clearly and thoroughly with our parents without overwhelming them. I say our parents and I mean our clients. So if that sounds like something you would like to do, then come along.
Sounds fantastic. What about us oldies? What do you call the old monsters?
We get asked all the time about adults classes, dad's classes too. So watch this space.
Oh, well, thank you. And Morgan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you coming in and being part of NavTalk.
Oh, it's been so nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to NavTalk. If you'd like to catch up on other episodes from this series or previous, head to our NavWealth website. Until next time.